We have gathered a lot of knowledge, how it works, why it works, what are the things that are coming, not coming. So there are a lot of questions that we get from a lot of our clients around ONDC. So we have worked around, answering those questions in detail. So we have knowledge and we are here to share that knowledge ins and out of ONDC. People who don't know about ONDC, let me just briefly tell you what ONDC is. ONDC is an initiative by Indian government. Is the idea is to expand e-commerce market in India, like UPI did in payment space. The government wants to expand e-commerce in India to the same level. So every nook and corner, every small seller, everyone who wants to participate in e-commerce should be able to participate. That's basically is the goal. The three goals, primarily, if I talk in numbers, one is to get billion orders a month. It's a huge goal, but I think collectively that can be achieved. Second thing is 1.5 crore, kirana walas, people who are neighborhood shops, enabling them to come online. Um, that basically is the second goal from the supply side. And third goal is basically today the e-commerce coverage is in 20%, 15% of the pin code. And the goal is to get that to 75%. Like close to 75,000 pin codes in India needs to be enabled, for e-commerce, and that is, the number three goal broadly. With that, basically, I also want to tell you a few things about ONDC, which people think what it is and what it is not, right? So ONDC is not an application. It's not an application that you can download from anywhere. It's not a platform where you can go and start clicking and, those kind of stuff. It's not a website. It's a specification. It's a language that has been, defined by the working group of ONDC, that two systems need to talk, primarily buyer app and seller app have to talk in this language. So that's basically, it's a specification. It's basically that specification is helping build an open network for e-commerce. So that's basically, I thought I'll just clarify, given that a lot of people think otherwise what ONDC says. With that, basically, I would want to take questions from you guys, because that is important. That any questions you have, you feel free to, raise hand or write in the chat. If you raise hand, I will allow you to basically speak so that you can ask questions, or you can write in the chat if that is what is more comfortable to you. Yeah, if and any questions from you, you guys, anything that is bothering you, anything that is coming at the top of your mind, I don't understand this, everyone is talking about ONDC, but here are the few things that I don't know. Can be around, how, it can be very simple, what is ONDC, if you can explain that, or it can be like in more detail, how the payments will work and those kind of stuff. So whatever questions that come to your mind, please feel free to ask me. So one of the things which a lot of people ask uh, is basically, what is ONDC? I mean, how can I participate? How is it beneficial to me? How can I participate, right? So ONDC basically, if you look at it, the first impact you will see in ONDC, from ONDC, is the discovery of neighborhood shops. So search, discovery, it can be brand, it can be, products, it can be price, discovery of even like simple thing like teachers around you, mentors around you. It can be discovery of services, discovery of taxis, rides, discovery of insurance agents, anything you want to discover locally, ONDC will, enables that, right? So first thing basically which you have to understand is the first impact that is going to have is discovery. And if you are a neighborhood shop, if you want to sell in your neighborhood, and people don't know about you, with ONDC, everyone will know about you. Right? So that's one of the things that is why you should you know be part of it, because discovery of your products, of your services, uh, to millions of users, not just few thousands, millions of users, right? If you basically are if you can dispatch even like nationally, so you have access to 200, 300 million customers, right? No platform today has that kind of demand side uh, you know uh, power which ONDC has. So I have one question here. I've been trying to integrate local sellers to help them sell online, but I think ONDC can solve my problem for inventory integration. I want to know, how can I build my app ONDC to help people buy and sell in hyperlocal? Yeah, so basically, if you if if you want to buy, also you want to sell, there are two different things in ONDC, right? For a buying, there's a buyer app ecosystem. For selling, there's a seller app ecosystem, right? So first thing which we usually ask to our client who wants to connect to NDC is that which part of the ecosystem do you want to play? Right? Do you want to play on the seller side, where you onboarding sellers, enabling sellers to come online, or do you want to play the role on the buyer app side, where you are actually acquiring customers? You are basically doing marketing. You're getting orders for the ONDC network of sellers, right? So first thing, Anirudh, if you can give more, shed more light on, where do you think you will play a role? Are you going to get orders, which means that are you going to do marketing to get orders? Are you enabling local kirana walas to come online and putting their products online, putting their inventory online, helping them dispatch? Is that the role that you are forcing? If you can help me with that, I can actually give a better answer to you. So other question is, do I need a website to participate in ONDC? Oh, no, you don't need a website. Basically, if you are someone on the buyer side, yeah, you need a website, because you are looking to generate orders. Now, even then, someone can say that, okay, I will have a local, for example, like, can I generate orders through chat, right? So I don't need a website, so chats can be integrated through ONDC, right? So for buyer app also, it's preferable to have website and app, mobile app, but it's not required. Seller app, definitely you don't need to have a website. That is completely, you want to have it or not, it's not required at all. So on seller app, basically what you need, your seller app can be in your point of sale, right? Some point of sale if you are using for your shop, or it can be in your billing, payment billing machine. For example, a Pine Lab machine, for example. I don't know, Pine Lab is enabled with ONDC right now, but I mean, one of the machines can be ONDC enabled, can be Pine Labs kind of machines. uh, the other basically can be simple backend of ERP. It can be Tally or something like that, where you upload your products. Or it can be a backend of a platform. It can be, even platforms who are currently active in e-commerce, for example. I mean, just taking names for the name's sake. For example, Snapdeal or other these kind of platforms. Right? So it can be a platform, it can be a uh, you know point of sale, it can be a billing machine, it can be a accounting software. ONDC uh, plugins can go into any kind of software. And basically, the only thing it does is that basically makes your product visible to the whole world. And for that visibility, as a seller, you don't need a website. The buyer side, they have to present those products. They can be they need a website. Another question is how all the product and price will be maintained by seller. Do we need app or how it will done? Yeah. So basically, if you want to maintain your pricing, you want to maintain, if you want to maintain, update pricing very often, you will need some kind of e-commerce ERP. Something like Plotch can be beneficial for you. Basically, in Plotch you can upload products and you can manage your pricing and all those things. So and you don't need a website with the ONDC connector. You can be connected to ONDC quickly. So yeah, if you're looking to change pricing, if you want to update pricing very often, if you want to expose your inventory, you would need an ERP or software where you can manage your inventory. So yes, definitely that is there. Uh, do we need a digital catalog or products? Yes, you would. So what do you need as a seller? You need an image of the product, you need price of the product, you need to have description of the product, right? These three things sort of mandatory in ONDC: price, image, and description, right? There are some mandatory attributes which may be related to more like it's a particular category. For example, food they may require FSSAI license, right? And pharma may have some requirement, um, which which you have to adhere to. So those will come from network policies that ONDC is working on, right? There is an infrastructure service in ONDC which is called policies, which where ONDC will define for this particular type of product, for this category of product, these are the few mandatory attributes that you need to populate. But for general, categories, I don't think there will be a huge list of mandatory attributes. But there will be some mandatory attributes apart from the three I mentioned, which are completely mandatory, that you need to have price, you need to have image, and you need to have product description. Yeah. So the question, one more question I have from Nitin. I'll just read it out. This is Saurabh from IV Mobility. I have a query on what all master data references ONDC will need. Example, between the same set of seller and buyer, there may be difference of prices depending on type of buyer, channel use, so on, etc. So all these inputs, including product details, retailer details, etc., needs to be hosted by ONDC. These data need to be refreshed frequently. Do we need to create these regular interfaces? Okay, so first of all, there is no hosting by ONDC. ONDC doesn't store any data anywhere other than your registration data, right? They don't, and a public and private key. Sorry, not private key is with you, only the public key, right? The only few data that ONDC stores, but your catalog is definitely not, which is there on, is maintained by ONDC or stored by ONDC. Your catalog data is primarily stored on the seller side, seller app side. It is possible that your buyer app side might cache that data, right? So So basically, your master data is with you, and buyer app may have just a cache data, and it might refresh that frequently enough to ensure that your pricing and everything is up to date, right? So basically, but they still, for the inventory, they still have to do a search and discovery. They still have to go to the gateway and do the discovery. So primarily, if you ask me, if a simple question to answer is, the master data is with you, the inventory, a price, and those things, and that is the primary data which everyone accesses, right? So it's not with the, and your other question, I didn't understand, because you're saying there may be difference of price depending on the type of buyer. So there's no two price or three price tiered price concept in ONDC right now, at least. So you have only one price, right? So it's not possible for you to have pricing based on type of buyer and those kind of stuff right now, at least. I hope I could answer that question, Nitin. If not able to, you're not satisfied, please feel free to expand it further. Yeah. So basically, few other questions which a lot of people ask us. Some of these questions are, uh, you know, I am a very small seller. I don't have product images. I sell Parle G, I sell, Maggie and those kind of stuff. And do you have a catalog registry where I can fetch all these images and product name and other stuff? And I don't need to take photos and those kind of stuff, right? So ONDC is working on a catalog registry right now, right? Which means standard products, more like Maggie's and the Parle G's data will be available in catalog registry, and you can fetch that registry and get your product name and other stuff. Pricing, of course, is something that you will have to decide what price you want to sell. Of course, MRP will be there, but what price you want to sell at is your discretion. So there's a concept of catalog registry, which is ONDC is working on. It's not live yet, but it is gonna be there. Few other questions which people ask is, is there a rating mechanism? How will people filter and sort sellers who are, how will they be shown? Will, if someone like Amazon is there on ONDC, will they get preference and those kind of stuff? So one thing is that there's a concept of rating. There's a reputation ledger which ONDC I think will release in few weeks, where all your reputation will lie. Your how good you are at dispatch, how good are you at how good your quality of the product is, how good is your packaging and those kind of stuff, right? So there's a reputation ledger to which anyone can access and see, this seller who is selling, what is their reputation, what is their rating in the ledger, and they can sort based on that. Sorting based on rating is allowed, NDC. uh, so one thing which if you want to participate in ONDC is make sure your rating is well maintained. You make sure your rating is very high, and you start early, because ratings takes time. It's not like you start 6 months from now and everyone is there ONDC, and And the players who have done like 1,000 transactions and they have 100 ratings, it will be difficult for you to come up. So it's important that you start early. In this, it's important that you build your rating very well. Make sure you dispatch right, you have right product and those kind of stuff, and don't mess it up. So yeah, that's just something people ask us. Yeah. So I think let one question I have. Someone has raised, so I'm gonna allow Monica to talk. Hello.
Manoj, we have had a question in the past as to
Yeah.
how the payments will work.
Yeah.
Say I am a seller on ONDC. Now I do not know the buyer app. अभी क्या होता है कि if I am on Amazon, then I know I have to follow up with Amazon customer care or seller care team, and I know my payments will come with at least few follow-ups if they are stuck somewhere and not automatically processed. Now here, how will I know which party to contact in case my payment for product has not come?
Yeah. So this is a tricky and a thorny question in a lot of ways. In a way that tricky in the sense that it's still being worked out. So there's no clear answer to payments yet in DC. But from what I can tell you is what I know is that payment can be collected by either party, right? Buyer or the seller, right? Most of the time, it may happen that the buyer collects the payment, but seller can also say that I want to collect the payment. And for that, basically, they will have to share a UPI link or a payment link with the buyer app, so that buyer app can collect on the behalf of seller app from the customer. If it's a COD, cash on delivery, then usually the seller app is doing the logistics. So they will have a contract with the logistics partner, and the money will come to the seller app, right? So that's basically is where one point number one, that anyone can collect. Who will collect is a negotiation which happens in every transaction, which means if I'm initiating a transaction, I usually the buyer app will assert, will say ki I will collect, and seller app may agree or may not agree. If seller app doesn't agree, he can say I will collect, and buyer app may agree or not agree. And if both don't agree, the transaction fails, right? So there is a feature of negotiation, who will collect. So first is that anyone can collect. Second thing is there is a negotiation who will collect, and that negotiation is always there, right? And the transactions can fail because negotiations may not have an agreement. Uh, third thing is that whoever collects the payment basically has to basically declare a settlement window, that I will settle payment to the other party within 15 days, 10 days, and those kind of stuff. And that settlement window is also communicated in every transaction, which means that if someone doesn't agree to it, they can refuse the transaction, right? They the other thing which mechanisms are there. Whoever is collecting the payment can maintain a refund pool, right? They can maintain a refund pool. They can say that 10% of all the collections I'll make, I will keep it aside for refunds if refunds come, right? So there's a provision for that also. There's a provision for if settlement happens. When does the settlement initiated? From what status, right? Is it when the payment has been collected? Is it when the product has been delivered? So that trigger from where the settlement starts, the period starts, is also a part of ONDC, spec, right? So there are few things which are there. Now, of course, there isn't a, a payment settlement party in between, right? It is left to the either the buyer or the seller app to settle on its own. So there is no third party or there is no ONDC party currently who is taking the onus of that. I will make sure the settlement happens as it should, right? While it's not there right now, the chances are very high that the third party settlement, a neutral party, will be assigned the rights to settle. So that is something that is being worked on right now. Sorry about this. I think there'll be more clarity in coming months. But yeah, definitely, that is a concern area. That what if there's a dispute, what someone didn't settle, what happens? Of course, there are mechanisms to you know derate, or basically deprioritize the seller, in DC and those kind of stuff. If someone is a bad player, someone is a bad player, they can be delisted and those kind of stuff. But still, that mechanism still not there, automatic settlement between parties. So yeah, I hope I could give what I know and what I don't know and what is not there right now. Unfortunately, we'll have to wait for that. uh yeah, I think those are the questions. Any other questions anyone has uh, around other stuffs which you don't understand? uh, it's basically pretty simple if you look at it from a concept perspective. uh, that it's a specification which enables multi party players to talk to each other, primarily buyer and seller app, right? And anyone can participate. It's open network, right? So there's nothing which prevents or blocks anyone from participating in it. And one of the few things I think which will as I said, discovery is a big part of ONDC. So local discovery is going to boom in ONDC. Your local kirana walas and those kind of stuff. With that, not hyper logistics but deep hyper logistics players will also start emerging, which is basically catered to a particular mohalla, which will cater to particular pin code, a district, small area, geography, not the whole city kind of stuff, right? So you will see a rise of you know deep hyper logistics companies potentially with ONDC coming. What are the future enhancements ONDC is planning in near future? Those which can be made known to the audience. I think I mean what we know is that what is coming is a your reputation ledger is coming, which I talked about, right? That is something that is you know coming, definitely coming few weeks from what I know. Second thing which is coming is online dispute resolution. So is the ODR, which they're calling is the ODR. So if there's a dispute between customer and the seller, how do you resolve that dispute? Who should get paid? Who shouldn't get paid? Whose fault is it? So online dispute resolution and grievance redressal mechanism is coming up. That is also there in the roadmap. right? Then catalog registry I talked about, that is coming. Um, then basically your payment settlement, still early. Don't have a lot of information about it, but I think it's gonna come, very quickly. Uh, Given that there are a lot of questions and a lot of clarity that is needed. These are the few things which I know, 4 5 things that I know which are coming in ONDC, which are not there yet, right? Today, basically, you primarily have a registry where your data, your public key, and your category of your location, that goes. Nothing more than that. So that is there. The other thing which is a potential which can actually boost working flow, working capital requirements of sellers, is that OCEN, which is a Open Credit Enablement Network. That also is being talked about to be integrated with ONDC, so that sellers who are good sellers can get credit from respective, whoever is who are the lenders, um, through OCEN, so that they can manage their working capital, because see, seller reputation is there, seller transactions are there in the network, everyone knows about it. So it becomes easier for someone to give credit to these sellers, through by looking at the transaction history. Yeah, I think those are the few things that I can think of on top of my mind right now. What is coming in ONDC? Any other questions you have? Something which you want to ask about? You know, anything that's on top of mind. It can be also a simple question. Doesn't need to be a complicated question at all. The idea is that you should know about ONDC. You should be able, you're prepared for ONDC, and you should start, becoming part of ONDC, right? If you are developers here, I don't know if any one of you have technology, uh, you know, coming from technology background or those kind of stuff. There are a host lot of opportunities which are coming in ONDC, which basically is around SDKs. It is about creating uh, connectors, creating open APIs. Those kinds of, a lot of opportunities are coming, which making search better, making you know your interactions between your buyer and seller. There's a lot of things that you can do in ONDC, which given that it's a virgin area, there's a lot of opportunities there. So that also is something I thought can be interesting for someone to explore. uh, how to join as a seller. So currently, basically, you can, there's no formal way of joining ONDC. People like us, like Plotch, uh, we are enabling ONDC, a platform to become ONDC enabled, which means that you can you can use Plotch to become a seller on ONDC very quickly, right? For that, you can contact our team right now, and we basically can help you come as a seller. uh, but currently, the 200 to 300 odd entities which are working on ONDC right now. Some are very big, like Google and those kind of stuff. Some are small, uh, but they are basically being maintained as a cohort by by ONDC cohort 1, cohort 2, cohort 3, and they divide them into groups, and they're helping them come on board. So it's sort of a process which is driven by ONDC team right now. um, and you can reach out to them directly. The email which you can reach out to them is team@ondc.org. So you can email them at team@ondc.org, and they will be able to help you become a seller if you are not using Plotch or any other platform right now. There are 10 APIs to be used for NDC. These are fire forgot, as they mentioned stateless earlier. What is the reconciliation mechanism to be used to understand the status of an API call? So basically, the way these are stateless in a way that they are async in nature, which means that you don't get a response immediately. There's a there's a webhook callback which is done to your server once the response is ready, right? So what ties them? How do you know for which API what what response came, right? The two things that ONDC is given. One is message ID. So there's a context in every API request that you send, and that context has a field called message ID, right? So if someone is responding to you, asynchronously, you can use the message ID to know for which API request this response has come, right? So the message ID is one way you can connect the dots. Second thing is the transaction ID. Now transaction ID is more relevant where you have initiated transaction, right? And that transaction ID is actually a transaction ID which is shared between buyer and seller. See, for search is of the 10 APIs, search is the only API which goes to the gateway. All other APIs actually they're directly between buyer and seller app. And this is important to understand because your fire and forget, which you're saying, is primarily the message ID, which is stitching the conversation, is primarily a tool used in is useful when you're doing a search request. For others, is the stitching can also be done via transaction ID. Of course, the message ID still remains, so you can use that also. I hope, Nitin, that was something that I was able to answer. Unless there are any more questions, I'll wrap up here. Uh, you can always reach out to me at manoj@plotch.ai if you have any questions. I'm also very active on LinkedIn, so you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'll try my best to answer them in as in as much with as much clarity what I have, or as much knowledge I have. Of course, ONDC is very new, so it's not that everyone has clear answers to all the questions, but it's something that which get fine tuned in future. So so we'll get to better answers. But do reach out to me if you have any questions. Unless there are any other questions, I'll wrap up here. Thank you for your time. I hope this was useful to you. Thank you. Bye bye.